If you walk into the lobby of any high-end corporate tower today, you'll witness the most pathetic financial paradox of our generation. The guys with the highest IQs, the ones with the framed master's degrees and the tailored Italian wool, they're the ones sweating cold in the bathroom stalls. They're terrified. One unexpected medical bill, one corporate restructuring, one hike in the adjustable rate mortgage, and their entire polished existence collapses. Let's look at Arthur. Arthur is a director of strategy. He understands macroeconomics. He reads complex market analysis before his first coffee. He makes $190,000 a year. Society looks at Arthur and applauds. But Arthur's cash flow is a hostage situation. He's what the system calls premium broke. His intellect isn't his weapon. It's his prison guard. Then look at the maintenance guy fixing the AC unit outside Arthur's glass office. Let's call him Dave. Dave doesn't know what a trailing stop-loss is. Dave couldn't explain quantitative easing if his life depended on it. But Dave has a paid-off duplex on the edge of town and $700,000 compounding quietly in a violently boring index fund. Dave is practically invisible. Dave is free. Why does the genius stay chained to the desk while the supposedly dumb guy buys his freedom without breaking a sweat? Because society sold us a very profitable lie. We've been programmed to believe that building wealth requires extreme sophistication. We're taught that getting rich is a complex mathematical puzzle, an insider's game that demands multiple monitors, aggressive day trading, and a deep understanding of geopolitical trends. But the system doesn't want you to know the truth. The financial industry thrives on your desire to feel smart. Arthur suffers from the educated ego. He uses his massive, highly trained brain to rationalize financially suicidal decisions. When Arthur buys a $90,000 luxury SUV, he doesn't just buy a car, he builds a mental spreadsheet. He justifies the depreciation curve. He convinces himself the badge on the hood increases his networking potential with other executives. He calculates the tax write-offs. He tells himself he's leveraging his credit effectively. He weaponizes his own intelligence to dig his grave deeper. He built his own custom-made, highly optimized hamster wheel. He polished the metal. He measured the exact velocity to the spin. But he's still a lab rat. He just happens to have a corner office and a platinum card. Intellectual arrogance is the most expensive tax a man can pay. The smarter you think you are, the easier it is for the machine to sell you a heavier chain. The highly educated man despises simplicity. He looks at a basic, low-cost investment strategy and scoffs. It's too simple. It doesn't stroke his ego. He needs complexity to feel alive, so he gambles on crypto pre-sales, angel investments he doesn't understand, and leveraged real estate deals just to have something sophisticated to talk about at Friday night dinners. He bleeds out through 1,000 tiny cuts of management fees and hidden transaction costs. Meanwhile, the simple guy, the broke guy who knows he isn't a genius, he just executes. He embraces the absolute soul-crushing boredom of saving 20% of his income every single month. He doesn't try to time the market. He just buys and waits. But the crazy part isn't that Arthur overcomplicates his life to protect his pride. The crazy part is the invisible psychological machinery that guarantees men like Arthur will never, ever stop running. And once you see the exact trap the system designed for smart people, you can never unsee it. Let's dissect the anatomy of this trap. The system doesn't just want your money, it wants your mental bandwidth. Take Greg. He's a senior software engineer. His brain is wired for complex logic. He looks at his 6-figure salary and decides that a simple, slow-growth retirement account is beneath his intellect. So he downloads a gamified brokerage app. You know the one? The app with the sleek dark mode, flashing charts, and a burst of digital confetti every time you execute a trade. Greg doesn't just invest. He trades options. He analyzes candlestick patterns at 2 in the morning. He's convinced his coding logic gives him an edge. The brokerage firm loves Greg. They designed the user interface to stroke his ego. They give him a margin account and call him an advanced trader. He thinks he's the scientist running the experiment, but he's just another lab rat feverishly pressing the dopamine lever in a digital cage. Here is the brutal truth about the modern market. High intelligence without emotional control isn't a financial advantage. It's just a highly efficient suicide mechanism. The antagonist isn't a sleazy salesman. It's the Silicon Valley engineers who weaponized human pride. They feed him endless streams of data to give him the illusion of control. But every time he rebalances his portfolio to outsmart a macro trend, the house takes a cut. The spread, the hidden fees. He's bleeding out from invisible algorithmic cuts. The actual cost is the psychological drain. Greg sits in a Tuesday meeting, sweating over a 4% dip in a biotech stock. He carries the emotional stress of a hedge fund manager on a corporate salary. He trades 40 hours to earn his paycheck, and his remaining nights stressing over how to multiply it. He has no peace. He's exhausted. And when a highly educated man is perpetually exhausted by his own manufactured complexity, he inevitably seeks comfort. He looks for a reward to justify the chronic anxiety. Rule 1. The curse of the educated ego. The cognitive load of trying to beat the system drains his willpower. By Friday, Greg is emotionally fried. He feels he deserves a reward for being such a sophisticated operator. So he leases the $80,000 electric vehicle. He tells himself he's networking. He's not. He's just self-medicating. Complexity is the ultimate anesthetic for the ego. As long as a man is busy managing 12 different asset classes, he never has to face the terrifying reality that he is still just a wage slave. The smartest guys are so busy trying to optimize a fraction of a percent that they miss the gaping hole in their boat. They're over-leveraged, overstimulated, and one correction away from total liquidation. They look down on the guy who just buys a boring index fund and goes fishing. They call him average. But when the market inevitably drops, you see exactly who was swimming naked. Rule 2. Paralysis by sophistication. The sophisticated man is paralyzed by his own options. He knows too much to take simple action. He waits for the perfect entry point. He waits for interest rates to pivot. He waits, holding cash that loses value every second. He would rather lose money gracefully through complex strategies than make money quietly through dull consistency. And the math behind this ego trip? It's mathematically devastating. Let's break down the brutal math of being too smart for your own good. We are going to look at the exact opportunity cost of a bruised ego. Greg, our brilliant software engineer, financed that $80,000 electric vehicle to reward himself for his exhausting, sophisticated trading sessions. He put zero down. He is paying 8% interest over 72 months. He thinks he bought a tax write-off. He actually bought a $100,000 liability that will be worth 30 grand in 5 years. Now let's look at Dave, the guy who fixes the air conditioning, the guy society calls simple. Dave doesn't need a reward for his investments because his investments don't drain his soul. He drives a reliable, ugly, $15,000 sedan he bought in cash. Here is the exact math the system prays you ignore. The difference between Greg's ego trip and Dave's basic transportation is roughly $65,000 of deployed capital. Greg strapped that money to a depreciating piece of lithium-ion technology. Dave took the equivalent monthly payment, about $1,200, and shoved it blindly into a violently boring index fund. He didn't check the charts. He didn't read the earnings reports. He just fed the machine. If Dave keeps feeding that $1,200 a month into that dull, unsexy fund for 20 years, assuming a standard historical return, he doesn't just get his money back. He generates $850,000. Greg drove a nice car to a job he hates. Dave bought nearly $1 million of pure, liquid freedom. But the financial cost is only half the tragedy. But let's look at the time tax. Greg spends 20 hours a week researching microcap stocks, crypto derivatives, and reading macroeconomic forecasts. In 10 years, that is over 10,000 hours of unrecoverable human life spent staring at red and green candles, trying to squeeze a 2% outperformance over the baseline market. 10,000 hours. For what? To lose to inflation because his complex plays inevitably crash when the macroeconomic winds shift. Dave spends 0 hours a week on his portfolio. He spends his weekends fixing up his duplex, increasing his rental yield, or just drinking a cold beer on his porch. Dave is experiencing the physical world while Greg is trapped in a digital casino disguised as a sophisticated trading terminal. The market is an emotionless predator. It does not give a single damn about your Ivy League degree or your ability to write complex code. Intelligence without patience is just a highly efficient engine driving you straight into a concrete wall. This answers the ultimate question of our generation. Why does the dumb, broke guy get rich first? Because he lacks the arrogance required to sabotage himself. He doesn't try to outsmart the maze. He doesn't try to negotiate with the mousetrap or build a better wheel. He just walks right past the cheese of social validation. The smart guy stays broke because he thinks his high income makes him immune to basic arithmetic. He uses his massive intellect to invent new ways to lose money gracefully. He buys complex financial instruments that strip away his wealth in management fees, paying a Wall Street broker to lose his money faster than he could lose it himself. Every time Greg executes a fancy options trade, he pays a premium. Every time he trades in his luxury lease, he resets the depreciation clock. He is trapped in a cycle of reverse compound interest, where his debt and his lifestyle expenses grow exponentially faster than his ability to generate active income. He is bleeding out. And the tragedy is, he is too busy looking at his dual monitors to notice the puddle of his own financial life on the floor. If he doesn't shatter this illusion today, if he doesn't put a bullet in his educated ego and embrace the absolute monotony of true wealth building, he is going to work until his cognitive functions decline and the corporate machine replaces him with a younger, cheaper rat who codes faster. The math is undefeated. You cannot outthink a compound interest curve working against you. Rule 4. The compound interest of arrogance. The bill always comes due. The only way out of this highly optimized cage is to actively choose to be the dumbest guy in the room. You have to assassinate your financial ego. You have to look at the Wall Street machine, look at the complex algorithmic trading platforms, look at the endless social media flexing, and just walk away. They built a psychological labyrinth designed specifically to trap high-functioning brains. The intelligent man tries to out-navigate the maze. He tries to hack the structural walls. He reads thick academic books on maze dynamics and yield curves. You don't dismantle the mousetrap by calculating the exact velocity of the steel spring mechanism. You beat it by refusing to smell the bait. You starve the system of your attention, your anxiety, and your transaction fees. You have to cultivate something the financial institutions fear deeply. Rule 5. Weaponized ignorance. Weaponized ignorance is the ultimate form of stealth wealth. It is a deliberate, calculated blindness to the circus. It means you stop optimizing your portfolio to stroke your pride. You accept that you are not a macroeconomic oracle. You don't know what the Federal Reserve is doing with monetary policy this quarter, and you don't care. You don't know the speculative valuation of the latest tech unicorn. You don't know what your co-worker's new luxury truck costs, and you certainly don't care about the terms of his lease agreement. You funnel your unspent capital into violently boring, totally automated investment vehicles. You buy broad market index funds that require absolutely zero intellectual maintenance. You let the collective effort of the global economy do the heavy lifting while you step completely out of the arena. This is the exit. The exit isn't a secret offshore strategy or a complex tax loophole. The exit is aggressive, unapologetic simplicity. Let me paint the exact picture of what true stealth wealth looks like. It is a Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. You are sitting in a completely unremarkable diner with sticky tables. You are wearing a faded cotton shirt with no designer logo. The guy in the booth across from you is a mid-level corporate director. He is sweating through his tailored collar, frantically answering messages on his phone, terrified that his boss will notice he took a 40-minute lunch break. He looks over at your plain clothes and assumes you are unemployed. He pities you. He doesn't know that your quiet, neglected portfolio just generated his entire monthly salary while you were drinking a $2 black coffee. He doesn't know you hold the mortgage on the commercial plaza his office is leased in. You are a ghost in the machine. You have zero need for his validation, or the validation of the waitress, or the validation of society at large. The educated ego demands applause. It needs the luxury watch to signal success. It needs the German engineering to prove a point to strangers at a traffic light. Stealth wealth needs nothing. It is a fortress of equity built in absolute silence. You have to ask yourself what you really want out of this short life. Do you want to look rich to people you secretly despise, or do you want to actually own your time? You cannot have both. The tax on looking wealthy is your freedom. The dumb, broke guy gets rich first because he accepts reality. He knows he isn't going to outsmart the system, so he just buys the system. He buys the assets, he holds them for 3 decades, he endures the boredom. Meanwhile, Greg, our brilliant senior engineer, just got promoted. They gave him a new title, a 15% raise, and 80 hours of work a week. He immediately upgraded his vehicle to celebrate. He is 42 years old, his blood pressure is elevated, and his net worth is entirely tied up in the debt of a house he never has time to sleep in. He is the smartest rat in the laboratory. Dave just sold his duplex, rolled the equity into a larger commercial asset, and bought a small cabin near a lake. No one at the lake knows Dave is a millionaire. They just think he's a quiet guy who likes to fish. If you made it this far, you understand the assignment. Drop a comment saying, "Violently boring equity." The sophisticated guys will scroll past and laugh. But we'll know you're building in the dark. My name is Daniel Rath, and I'll see you outside the maze.